pink wizard hats or knee-high striped stockings might not seem like something you'd see an X-Men wearing, but it might surprise you what is hiding in their closets. Changeling, I've talked about this mutant a few times. He is the telepathic shifter that pretended to be Professor X, so Professor X could go underground to prepare for an alien invasion, had an identity crisis, decided to be a good guy after getting a cancer diagnosis, zombie version of him shapeshifted into Elvis to help out She-Hulk in a car chase. Hope that's all ringing a bell. So yeah, normally we talk about his powers, his life story, but today we are talking about his original outfit because what is he wearing? Blue morph suit base, which is fun because the alternate universe version of him is named Morph. Honestly, the body of it all is fine. It's the helmet. What is that? Who made that? Changeling can change the appearance of his costume at will, and that's what he picked. I have tried to find the reason he wears this helmet, but the truth is the character isn't that popular, so there really isn't much. I did find one hilarious description online. The most interesting thing about you is that ludicrous purple turnip of a hat. Sums it up, methinks. It must have something to do with the fact that he has telepathic powers, but I, for the life of me, cannot figure out what it has to do with that. Sound off in the comments down below if you know what is going on with the purple turnip. Again, with the headpieces for this X-Men, Frell sporting some sky-high hair, or fur. Frell is her name. Love that choice. She's completely feral. I don't know how to feel about her hair, fur, though. It's so pointy and so high. Somehow she is outdoing the original Wolverine look. Her actual clothing follows a similar style to her hair, having very pointy and high shoulders. I feel like she is in a 80s rock band and has yet to reveal that fact. Frell is like an animal. She has sharp claws and teeth. Her mutation makes her very fast and she has heightened senses. She also has a healing factor, of course, and a tail. The tail is very long and very strong. She can support herself with just the tail should she need to. Her most interesting ability, in my opinion, would have to be intangibility. She gained this ability during her ghost era. Yes, she did die, like most Marvel characters. As a ghost, she could easily pass through things. I showed a picture of Frell to my roommate. First words out of her mouth: what would that look like in 3D? She has a point. How big is the hair in real life? Ava Dara, or Warbird, is a soldier for the Shi'ar Empire. That means she gets soldier armor because she goes into battle a lot. She is in the army. Not that I really know what going into battle is like, but I watch TV, I read, and you generally want to protect soft parts and major organs in your chest area. Tell me why her entire middle section is completely exposed in a big cross. Nothing there that we can see. Hopefully there's like an invisible shield type of situation she put there to show off, but I really don't think so. Is it a show of power? I'm exposing everything because you will never get close kind of thing? It's poor design in my opinion. Fun design, she looks great, but it's not proper battle armor. The rest of the armor is fine. Her legs, her arm, and her head are good. It's just the heart and major organs that are out. Warbird is a strong fighter, expert markswoman, and very well trained in hand-to-hand combat, plus she has an energy sword, so she is equipped to brawl when she needs to. The Cyclops outfit that debuted right after Avengers X-Men in 2012 was not a favorite in comparison to other Cyclops fits. No, it didn't measure up, but it didn't look completely awful, but it was kind of impractical. There are already so many things you just have to ignore in the Marvel Universe, or you just kind of have to take it at face value, or else you'll find no enjoyment here. But this outfit just makes no sense for the character. So usually Cyclops wears a visor to help prevent random like optic blasts. The good thing about the visor is that it makes sense. If he needs to remove it, he can do so easily. It makes sense that something could be built into the visor to prevent the random optic blasts. So when the new fit dropped in 2012, there were a lot of questions. The suit itself is forgettable but fine, just a red suit with lines on it. It's the head section that is weird, again with the helmets and heads and masks. So instead of a visor, he just has an X. X across the eyes. Not sure what the X is made of, presumably fabric, but then what fabric is going to prevent optic blasts? Maybe it's made of a hard material to prevent optic blasts, then if he needed to remove it, would he just need to take off his entire hood? Questions everywhere. This one loses points simply for being unrealistic to the universe, which is hard to achieve. Magneto has had a number of outfits over the year, and I have put this one in the middle because I can't decide if I hate it. In 2021, Marvel released a bunch of character designs for the Hellfire Gala. It was the Met Gala for mutants basically, so everyone is turning up in exaggerated versions of their usual outfits or something representing their powers. Some people hit it out of the park. Emma Frost, Colossus, Sunfire are some of my personal favorites. Magneto's is giving. We can't deny that he put his all into his outfit. He's like an Elton John steampunk Magneto. There are aspects I really like. His gold cane is his helmet, and the suit is fun. It has lots of intricate designs and a rose pinned to the collar. Most of my problem, my side eye, is directed at the top hat. I don't think I've seen someone wear a top hat well since like 1900 or a magician. Yeah, I just can't decide if he looks majestic or too over the top. Let me know what you think. Nightcrawler slays right now. He's got a good look going for him. His look in the 90s Excalibur era, not a fan favorite, and it's not hard to see why. Nightcrawler now is like this cool guy. Sure, can his red neck cape be drawn a little extreme? Yes, but he makes it look cool. Unfortunately, I can't say the same for his 90s choice of fashion. Lots of characters got bold redesigns in the 90s, some worked, some didn't. In Nightcrawler's case, they gave him a goatee and overall made him a pirate. He looks like a pirate. Give him the hat, that's a pirate. He has a little gold earring, that's not that bad. I feel like they could bring that back no problem. His belt is weird though. It looks like it might actually be undergarments. I don't know. The red V that we are used to seeing on the character, but made out of this like loose piece of fabric. It looks like he got into an accident in the sheets section of Bed Bath & Beyond. Generally, fans agree that this redesign was a miss and are glad he has a different fit now. Wolverine's debut costume, the one that was basically the yellow and blue standard but had little whiskers, that one surprisingly isn't the worst thing Wolverine has worn. Maybe the worst thing designed for him, but he has served worse. In X-Men 107, Wolverine is fighting the Shi'ar Imperial Guard. The Imperial Guard wears these outfits that are great for them, sure, but not so great for Wolverine. They are like these brown skin suits with a dark brown stripe up the middle and a belt made out of bones. Sounds like it should slay, right? The thing is, when Wolverine is drawn far away, it looks like he is wearing nothing but a thick ribbon. Physics, we don't know her. He's not, of course. The reason he had to wear the suit in the first place was because he got burned up in the fight and he needed something to wear that wasn't fabric shreds. An Imperial Guard was nearby and Wolverine took him out and wore his clothes. Professor X has sported some looks over the years. This one has got a touch of whimsy, a little bit of magic, and one man looking pretty in pink. Uncanny X-Men 153 gave us the gift of pink wizard Professor X. Unexpected turn for him, of course, but he didn't actually wear it. This issue of Uncanny X-Men featured the X-Men cleaning up after an attack, and Colossus's younger sister was scared to sleep because of the attack. So Kitty tells her a story to help her sleep. That story was Kitty's fairy tale. It featured Kitty and Colossus as pirates, Cyclops and Jean Grey as the prince and princess, Storm as the genie, Nightcrawler as a bamf, Wolverine as an unnamed meanie, and Professor X as the wizard. Professor X as the wizard was a moment. The comic was a little racially insensitive, but not the worst I've seen from Marvel, but also like not amazing. So Pink Professor is sitting on a magic carpet and he's got this hot pink robe covered in white stars and moons. He has a true wizard hat on his head with a little gem right in the middle and a very long mustache. Everyone across the board is sporting slightly goofy looks. This one was just the most shocking to me. So Rogue and the color green are best friends. She looks great in green, but once they made her green, like Shrek green, why? This was in Uncanny X-Men 190 and 191. This story was about that time that New York was transported back to the Middle Ages because a wizard couldn't get tickets to a Renaissance fair. I'm kidding. Kulan Gath is just weird. He made it so everyone in NYC acted like and believed they were in the Middle Ages and dressed like it was the Middle Ages, except Spider-Man. Not about him though. This is about what they did to Rogue. Redheads in green is a moment, you know, with the color wheel, backed science, and everything. So when Rogue wears green, she looks great. When she is green, I don't know. Shrek was not out when this comic was released, but Rogue is Shrek here. She doesn't look awful, but she's looked better. She also just wears a tunic and a long cape. She wasn't always green. In certain panels, she has her regular skin tone, so I'm not sure what's going on. It's kind of funny because at the start of the comic, there is a panel that showcases all the heroes affected by the spell. In it, you can see Storm drawn like a goddess, flattering angles overall, and then Rogue is beside her looking so angry and square. What did they do to my girl? Uncanny X-Men 149 and Kitty Pryde, match made not in heaven. It is sweet how the costume from this issue came to be. Kitty is young, she wants to express herself, right? So she decided that the X-Men costume given to her was positively antique. So she decided to make herself a new one. This comic came out in the 80s, so I think you can guess how this teenage girl designed an 80s superhero costume and how it turned out. Lots of colors that don't go together and some stars. She also added some roller rollerblades to the mix, a nod to Dazzler, who Kitty is a fan of. They are a fun touch. Now instead of the flare coming from her ability to walk through walls, she can rollerblade through them. She's got these purple, white, and blue high sock stocking things, and I think a gold base suit. On top of that, she's wearing green shorts, a purple X-Men belt, orange gloves, purple mask, and a red tank top with blue lightning strikes on it. The gloves also have blue stars on them. I was not a teen girl in the 80s personally, so I'm not sure if this was like the dream fit. If you were a teen girl in the 80s, please sound off in the comments. Let me know if you would wear this to the roller rink. DC has created some of the most iconic heroes of all time wearing the best fashion, but it takes a lot to look that good. Is there any DC costume more iconic than Superman? Fighting words, I know, but the red, yellow, and blue with the big S, you'd know that anywhere. Every Superman gets their own version of the suit when the character gets rebooted, and Brandon Routh seems to have gotten the short end of the stick. His suits received a lot of criticism. Nothing was safe. Every part was complained about by somebody. The colors were off, the S was too small, the cape was weird, the neckline was too high, the list goes on. But what Brandon Routh, Christopher Reeve's Superman hated the most about the look was the methods used to achieve the physique to fill out the tight suit properly. The actor needed to follow a strict diet, sharing that he was eating a lot of egg whites and chicken, and also had an extreme workout routine to follow that included 4 a.m. runs around the city. So the costume wasn't loved by fans, and the method to fit perfectly into that costume wasn't loved by the actor. Thankfully, this didn't stop Brandon from giving a great performance and bringing the American hero to life. Burt Ward played Robin in the 1966 Batman show, and he dealt with quite a unique issue when it came to his costume, one that he briefly took medication for. The original Robin and Batman suits from the 60s were not very thick, actual fabric instead of hard, armored material that we sometimes see on heroes today. This led to some issues with certain things showing through on camera that were not considered appropriate for TV at the time. Speaking to page 6, Burt Ward gave an interesting tidbit about the costuming process. He was showing too much through his green shorts that the studio sent him to a doctor to get pills to shrink him. I can't believe that's real. Old Hollywood was a wild place. But Ward came to his senses really quick, only taking the pills 3 days before realizing they might have a negative effect on the possibility of him having children someday. To fix the problem, he just used his cape to hide himself. If you were wondering if Batman was affected by anything weird like this in 1966, well, he was, just on the opposite end of the spectrum. Adam West apparently needed something extra, and they would use small towels to get the effect needed. Truly, I cannot believe it. Despite this likely uncomfortable costuming, West provided an excellently campy version of the character that lives on in the hearts of fans even 60 years later. He even went on to lend his voice to many Batman animated series and films as various characters. Margot Robbie's Harley Quinn is one of the most iconic representations of the character. If you see a Harley Quinn on Halloween, they'll probably be wearing Margot's Suicide Squad fit. Margot didn't love the costume she was wearing though. Margot shared that as herself, she wasn't feeling comfortable wearing the outfit and that she felt self-conscious while filming some scenes. Giving examples like eating lunch and then needing to go film scenes in the revealing outfits, she did clarify though that just because she, the actress, doesn't like wearing the clothes doesn't mean the character hates wearing the clothes. Margot recognized that Harley Quinn must like the clothing if she was wearing it, and that to properly portray the character, she has to fake confidence, saying you need to act like you think you're really gorgeous, and you need to be completely convinced with that because everyone else will believe it too. Later iterations of Robbie's Harley Quinn received outfits with more coverage. In Birds of Prey, Harley Quinn is seen in full jumpsuits. The hardest suits to wear just seem to all have something to do with Batman. Michael Keaton is just another example. Keaton played Bruce Wayne in 1989's Batman, in 1992's Batman Returns, and then in 2023's The Flash. When he first wore the suit in the late 80s and early 90s, Keaton was not having a good time. At least that's what one can gather from his comments about it. Keaton shared in a 2014 interview that the suit was very claustrophobic. He also shared that there was an uncertainty about whether or not the suit was even going to work properly, saying that it was mere hours before filming was set to start that they were sure it was good to go. Keaton recalled that it was very difficult to get out of the suit, sharing that he sometimes held off drinking just so he wouldn't need to use the washroom. He did drink water throughout filming, so he's okay. The other challenge that has plagued Batman actors since hardshell Batman masks were created was turning his head. He couldn't. Keaton recalled learning that he had to do full turns to interact with scene partners. Putting on his bat suit in 2023 was more fun for the actor though, as it was more like nostalgia filled, even asking the director of the movie to take pictures of him in the suit so he could show them to his grandkids. Malin Ackerman played Silk Spectre in Watchmen. She loved the character, but hated the costume. She said the suit she had to wear was so uncomfortable and would pinch her. The suit was made of a very tight latex that the actress said showed all her contours, so she had a strict exercise routine. The outfit also made temperature a tough thing to deal with. If it was cold outside, the costume would make the actress colder. If it was hot, the actress would be boiling alive. The costume also apparently smelled horrible, not surprising honestly. Bending her arms was a struggle, just overall it seemed like a horrible piece to wear. Add on to all that a corset is inside, making her waist 3 inches smaller than usual. It's a miracle she could do anything while wearing that. The worst part of all this was the costume didn't make the actress feel powerful. That's all you want to feel when you put on a supersuit. She hated the costume so much that she said she would only reprise the role if the costume was scrapped. Gal Gadot brought Wonder Woman to the big screen and did such a great job you would never be able to tell she was wildly uncomfortable. I'm surprisingly not referring to the iconic look from the first film, though that was extremely tight according to the actress, or when she had to do reshoots while pregnant. I'm talking about the golden armor from the second film Wonder Woman 1984. In an interview with BBC Radio 1, Gal Gadot shares that she had a love-hate relationship with her new golden suit. She said, "It's been a great costume to wear, and now when I see it, I'm like, yes, I'm so happy we did it, but working and filming and shooting and fighting in this costume was very challenging to say the least. I'm glad that the uncomfortable nature of the suit was worth it in the end." The director of the film, Patty Jenkins, loved the suit from the first minute she saw it on Gal Gadot. Speaking on it, she said, "I'm obsessed with that armor." So obsessed, she refused to make adjustments. When Gal claimed she couldn't move, Jenkins allegedly said, "Well, it's too bad, we're doing it and you're not taking it off. So I'm sorry to break it to you, but you're gonna have to figure out how to do this action in this thing because we are doing it." Gal did figure it out and does look great in the movie. Christian Bale portrayed Bruce Wayne in the critically acclaimed The Dark Knight trilogy. He did such a good job. He is regarded as one of the best Batmans ever, but he actually almost quit the film because he hated his suit so much. Scary to imagine, I know, but Bale is very claustrophobic and the Batsuit isn't exactly roomy. In an interview with Access Hollywood, Bale spoke about putting on the suit and his reaction to it, saying, "I felt like they should recast. I really did, because it was so claustrophobic that I didn't feel like I could breathe. I felt they've made a mistake and I can't do this." The Batsuit is pretty tight and has limited mobility, something they actually addressed in one of the films. When Bruce asks for the suit to be slightly redesigned to have a neck with more movement, Bale doubled down on his opinion on the Batsuit try-on during a press conference for The Dark Knight Rises, saying, "The claustrophobia was just unbelievable. I stood there and thought, this is too tight, this is squeezing my head, I'm about to have a nervous breakdown." Of course, no one wants to know a world without Christian Bale's Batman, so what the actor did to fix all this was request some time alone in the suit where he could just sit for 15 to 20 minutes to get used to the feeling, eventually getting used to it, clearly. Michelle Pfeiffer's Catwoman is one of the most iconic examples of the character to hit the big screen. She looked amazing, which means she was amazingly uncomfortable. The skin-tight leather suit had to fit her perfectly, and it took a lot of trial and error to make that happen. Pfeiffer recalled her time in the character's shoes in a 2017 interview with The Hollywood Reporter, sharing details about the costume and how hard it was to wear it. About getting into it, she said, "It was the most uncomfortable costume I've ever been in. They had to powder me down, help me inside, and then vacuum pack the suit." She continued sharing details about the iconic suit's memorable aspects like its signature shine, sharp claws, and cat mask. "They looked good, but they were dangerous." She said, "They'd paint it with a silicone-based finish to give it its trademark shine. I had those claws, and I was always catching them in things. The face mask was smashing my face and choking me." Overall, it doesn't sound like a pleasant experience. By the time filming was over, Pfeiffer was so over the outfits that she ended up burning many of them in the end of production bonfire. In a strange twist, years later, Pfeiffer says she wished she'd kept at least one of the suits. I cannot think of a worse situation than what Arnold Schwarzenegger had to go through as Mr. Freeze in Batman Forever. I would hate my costume too. Getting into the costume was like a punishment for him. It's reported it took 11 people 6 hours to bring Mr. Freeze to life. He did have very complicated makeup. His whole face had to come out of the chair blue and shiny. Then there was the blue contacts he had to wear and the fact that he had to shave his head. But worst of all, the thing I'm surprised he survived was what they did to his mouth. The costume designers for the film came to the conclusion that making Mr. Freeze's mouth glow would be perfect for the character. And he did look cool. It also put the actor in a dangerous situation. They used LED lights inside his mouth to get the glowing effect. fact, they were fitted around his teeth. What the costume team seems to have forgotten is that humans produce saliva. The saliva came into contact with the batteries that were powering the light up teeth and started messing with those batteries, causing battery acid to get in the actor's mouth. Obviously, Arnold was not happy about this, and it unsurprisingly tasted horrible. The issue was fixed by a balloon protecting the batteries for later shots.
Not all costumes can be winners, especially when they are competing with a classic like Spider-Man's red and blue or Spider-Man's black and red. But which are the worst? While Spider Armor MK1 might look a lot better today in its modern iteration, initially when it debuted in Web of Spider-Man issue number 100, it looked honestly pretty goofy. It's giving tinfoil vibes to me. Tinfoil armor, which might actually be what it's made out of, at least in part, as Spider-Man refers to it being made out of a material that is known as being pseudo-metallic, which sounds like it's not really made out of any true steel or like any other real metal. Pseudo means imitation, basically, something that's not genuine, and metallic just means resembling metal, so I'm not surprised this suit was initially shattered in its first incarnation. Rest in peace, pseudo-metallic aka tinfoil suit. Pretty sure it's tinfoil. Pretty sure. What is happening with some of these suits in Spider-Man 2? I really want to like the hair poking out here, and honestly I do love that Miles' hair is dyed red for this look, but at the same time, why does it look like the suit is just perfectly cut and molded still? Like, it looks like someone went in Photoshop, right? And they had the full mask, they had the full head. They literally removed the top of the mask, the top of his head. The lines are just too sharp, and the mask does not look like it is properly formed to his head. It literally looks like he's wearing Lego hair a little bit. But aside from the hair rant, which, let's be honest, that's most of my point here, and I'm gonna talk about it probably again, to be honest with you. I'm not sure how I feel about this look when it comes to just even the shoes. Why are the shoes always throwing me off with Miles' look? I mean, a lot of the times I get stuck on the shoes. This is Miles Morales' Red Spectre suit, by the way, from Spider-Man 2 on PlayStation, and I don't know how I feel about it, other than I simply don't like it. I want to like it, but I just can't. Just what is even going on in Spider-Man right now in the comics? What is happening? Someone help me. Part of me wants to read and like find out, and then the other part of me is honestly a little too scared to read and find out. I'm a little nervous. This new suit of Peter's though, an Amazing Spider-Man, which will make its first appearance in ASM issue number 53 this summer, or just before, presumably, based on the cover for issue number 53, and honestly there's a cover, I think it's for issue 52, it's like the costume is teased, but then issue 53 we already have the cover for, so I don't know. This costume though, it seems to give us a sense at least for some of the story behind it, and I'm not sure that I like it. The solicit for this issue also gives me more details that I'm not sure how I feel about. The solicit reads, Peter Parker is the Spider-Goblin. Peter Parker carries the weight of Norman Osborn's sins and takes to the skies as Spider-Goblin. How do I feel about this? How do you feel about this? Ugh, this one just feels kinda garish to me. Now I understand what it's trying to do, I kinda respect what it's trying to do, but like the suit that we just touched upon, this one just feels a bit too showy for my taste, I'm gonna be real. We're talking here about Peter Parker's smoke and mirrors suit. This suit design is of course based off of the famous Spider-Man villain Mysterio's look, but what works for Mysterio doesn't necessarily work for our friendly neighborhood Spider-Man in terms of style, in my opinion. The glass smoky helmet really throws me off with this one too, as every time I look at it, it just makes me feel like super detached from the character. I keep forgetting that it's like an actual head. Keep being like, oh, why isn't Peter wearing it though? I mean, where is Spider-Man's face here also? Even with him being in it, how does he see? Style 1, in terms of color, being mainly white with sort of black and gold accents, just makes me straight up think of the White Ranger from Power Rangers. Now granted, I like Power Rangers, okay? But I don't need to be reminded of the Power Rangers when I'm playing a Spider-Man game. To me that feels kind of weird. I will say the problems this suit has are kind of the opposite of the next one on our list though, which is gonna go in a bad way in a totally different direction. This suit being inspired by the Miles Morales The End comic doesn't make it any better in my opinion. It works better in the comic in terms of what it represents, but on its own it isn't really cool enough to spark love for this look just deep within myself on style alone. The End comics are basically multiverse multiversal and hypothetical ending stories for our heroes if you've had not gotten into them before. Some of these stories are good, some of them are bad, and some of them are just like kinda meh. For me, Miles' The End was just kinda meh. This look also evokes a similar vibe for me. It's kinda meh. In the comic, at least we get to see an older Miles don the suit, but even then, it's just a pretty basic look. Camo pants over Miles' black and red spider suit with black and red matching boots and a hooded leather jacket. I just wish there was a bit more to it, as it feels like a little too casual for my tastes. But I don't know, maybe when you get older, you're like, time to get more casual in my superhero attire. Simply put, there are too many lines for me when it comes to this suit and its look. It's just a lot of a lot. We're talking here about the Secret War Spider-Man suit that appears in the Spider-Man 2 PlayStation game. Now, I do like the colors, the blue and black anyways, but I'm not sure how I feel about those red lines though even, like, I don't know. One of the few suits from Miles where everyone else's issues with it is not my issue with it. When it comes to the evolved suit from Spider-Man 2 for PlayStation, a lot of people out there take issue with the branded Adidas sneakers. Now, a lot of people were not happy with these, feeling that Miles' appearance and sweet kicks in the game were made to target a teenage audience, and that offended people. For some reason. Something many fans felt didn't really exist for these games, I guess. They were like, there is no teen audience, how dare they? And they thought therefore it was silly. Although, to be honest, I know people of all ages who love Spider-Man. I think that his shoe choice is actually less about targeting teens, in my opinion, and it's just more about reflecting kind of like Miles' style. And while normally I'm not a fan of a superhero sneaker look, even with Miles, I think in this case, Miles actually pulls it off with this suit. Now, my issue here though is, once again, the hair poking out of the top. Like I said, I don't mind the hair itself. I actually think that's a cool style choice, but just the way it looks, like there's something off about the way they did it. It looks like the top of the mask was clean cut away and is like stiff. Or like Miles' head is weirdly blocky. If it's a spandex style mask, shouldn't the part where it's open like squeeze tightly to the top of Miles' head and then the hair comes out of that? It feels like it should just be a little bit more rounded there, and yet it's just like weirdly stiff and straight at the part where the mask meets the hair. I don't like that. I've talked about this next look before on the channel, and of course, as it was a look created to coincide with and celebrate Miles' 10th anniversary as a character, it appears also in the Spider-Man 2 PlayStation game. As I've said before, and I'll say it again, I'm not a big fan of this look. Chiefly, I think it's like the super tight fitting leggings with just the big oversized hoodie. It's a vibe, but it's just not one that I'm feeling for Miles. Maybe on another character I might like this better, but it just feels like it doesn't really fit here. Aside from that, I'm also just not a big fan of the chonky kind of sneakers and like the long neck of the hoodie, which zips up to cover the lower half of Miles's already masked face. I don't know, it rubs me the wrong way. Why are team-up comics always the ones with weird outfits for Spider-Man? It's like he teams up and he needs to get a suit to match that comic, to match that team-up. In this case, actually, that is exactly what seems to be happening with Spider-Man's Cyborg suit, which first appeared in Spider-Man issue number 21. You might even be able to guess which Marvel character he is teaming up with in this issue just by looking at his outfit. Now, if you guessed Deathlock, ding ding ding, you would be right. Don't worry though, this Cyborg look is just in fact a modified version of Spider-Man's suit. He doesn't really get a cybernetic arm to replace his human one. Instead, this is a special metal cast which allows him to maintain the functions of his arm while it heals at an accelerated rate. Apparently, according to the issue. The Electro-proof suit is an insulated suit that Spider-Man wears in issue number 425 of Amazing Spider-Man, and it is a wild one. It is a wild suit, and it is also a wild issue if you haven't read it. Now, this was at a time where Electro had beefed himself up in terms of his powers, essentially becoming what he'd describe as an electric god. This is also when Electro had pierced ears, by the way. What a great look. Well, the suit that Peter wears here doesn't look all that great. I am glad that it led me to this issue, as I kind of love how just like super 90s this issue is. It led me to a time that I didn't know I needed in my life right now, a time when Spider-Man and X-Man Nate Gray were besties just teaming up in New York, and I'm kind of here for it. In this issue, Spider-Man even kind of saves Nate, although Nate pays him back by saving Spider-Man later on, so don't worry about that. But Nate in his fight against Electro is surprisingly not doing so hot. Yeah, at one point he almost gets like completely KO'd by Electro. It's bizarre. That's just how crazy Electro is in this issue. To help combat the sheer power of his electric touch, Spider-Man gets himself an insulated suit to go over his standard suit, which basically looks like it was made out of patio chair cushions and rubber tubing to me. Which, in Peter's defense here, could make good last-minute insulation materials, to be honest. I don't know. Science. Maybe. Science?
Marvel has created some of the most iconic hero costumes of all time. They're nice to look at, but actually wearing them is a completely different story. Captain America himself, Chris Evans, didn't realize how much he disliked the first Cap costume until he had to revisit it years later. In Avengers Endgame, there's a pretty iconic scene between two Captain Americas, the one from Endgame's 2023 and the other from 2012's Avengers. But obviously, to get that scene, Chris Evans had to put his original 2012 costume back on, and he realized pretty quickly just how uncomfortable the outfit was in comparison to some of the Captain's later designs. In a gag reel posted to Marvel Entertainment's YouTube 4 years ago, about 25 seconds in is a short clip of Evans messing with his helmet. He says, "I can't believe I made a whole movie with this thing." The helmet does look uncomfortable, I will admit, but as a younger me once said, if it's comfortable, it ain't cute. That's just a running theme for all superhero costumes, I think. The more uncomfortable it is, the cooler it looks on camera. Chris Evans doubled down on his opinions on the Cap suit in an interview with Lad Bible TV. Evans was asked if he thinks MCU Cap has the best suit of any superhero, to which he disagreed. Evans shared that he believes Cap's suit is the one for the character, but measuring it up against every other Avenger, Evans has different preferences. He shared that he prefers the look of Thor, Black Widow, and Spider-Man more. He didn't share why. This is definitely a controversial take, as Cap's suit is a fan favorite. Personally, I really like the suit, but let me know what you think in the comment section down below. Eternals actor Barry Keoghan has expressed that his Druid costume was anything but cool. Literally. Don't worry, Barry did clarify he loved the look of the costume, it was just too hot. Some filming for Eternals happened on the Canary Islands, known for being a warm place. Despite being on some beautiful islands, Keoghan did not get to relax, as he was under contract to wear about 3 layers of clothing. In an interview with HeyYouGuys.com, Keoghan shared that he complained about wearing the suit every day. He added, especially as we were filming in the heat. I do not blame him for being uncomfortable. His suit was a dark color and he had to move around a lot, so him being too hot to handle in the costume, fair. Keoghan clarified that he loved the look of the costume, saying it did the character justice, so at least it was worth it. He went on to praise all the Eternals costumes, saying all of the outfits are unique to the character and all of the costumes stood out very well. Though the actor might have hated to wear his costume, he loved that he got to use his natural accent. Barry Keoghan is from Dublin, Ireland, and he thought it was nice that he got to use his own identity, his own Irish accent. He was also a big fan of his Eternals co-stars, so he still really had a great time working on the movie, even if the 3 layers of his costume made him the Human Torch. Simu Liu made history as the first Asian lead character in an MCU movie. However, not every aspect of playing Shang-Chi was as amazing as that. Turns out the suit looks cool but is wildly uncomfortable because it has too many zippers. The actor shared this information in an interview with Toronto Life. He did this by saying how he did love the suit and that putting it on for the first time was an impactful moment for him. So impactful he actually almost cried. But like most hero suits, it took about 5 wears for the novelty to wear off and for the suit to prove how uncomfortable it could be. In the interview, Simu Liu said, "I was like, oh my god, I hate this thing, why are there so many zippers?" Sebastian Stan played the mysterious Winter Soldier in the MCU, but he has been open about his dislike for certain aspects of his character's look. Sure, is the metal arm probably hard to move? Yeah. In fact, in an interview with Jimmy Kimmel, Stan revealed some tricks to get the arm on because it is difficult. But shockingly, Stan actually dislikes the Winter Soldier's headpieces more, specifically the goggles. In an interview with BBC Radio 1, Stan shared that he was always a little bit hesitant with them because they block his eyes, which for an actor can make it harder to give a performance. The eyes are the window to the soul, take those away, and it gets a lot harder to portray certain emotions. Stan did reveal that he enjoys the Winter Soldier's mask. He said, "The mask was kind of a cool thing because I knew what the Winter Soldier had looked like in the comic books." Another look Stan didn't mind was the eyeliner, saying it was a bold choice that made sense for the character at the time. The founding superhero of the MCU, Robert Downey Jr.'s Iron Man, debuted in 2008, and his iconic suit was soon loved around the world, loved loved by everyone except RDJ, it appears. But his reasons for disliking the famous suit, in my opinion, are totally reasonable. Turns out, almost everything was practical in that first movie. Apparently Marvel wanted to save on CGI costs at the time, something they are not concerned about now. He was actually wearing the armor that he built in a cave with a box of scraps, and then one he built in his workspace. The one he built in an actual workspace caused the most problems for the actor though. In an interview with David Letterman for his series My Next Guest Needs No Introduction, RDJ revealed that wearing the helmet was the hardest part of existing in the suit. He shared a story about the filming with it. They were shooting a scene where Iron Man had just landed on a roof and then was supposed to move forward. Sounds easy enough. It wasn't. Turns out that once that mask comes down, visibility is almost at zero, then go on the LED lights for the eyes, and RDJ said he was absolutely blinded. By the time the last Avengers came around, RDJ was over the helmet, and Marvel had the budget for CGI, so he could refuse wearing the helmet, instead opting for 2 dots on the side of his face so they could CGI everything in later. Mark Ruffalo's Hulk is an example of a character where CGI is almost always required for the super suit. It would be cool if Ruffalo could actually just Hulk out, but I don't think that will ever be possible, so CGI it is. But the method of capturing the actor to get the Hulk to the big screen is something Ruffalo has said is embarrassing. So even though he doesn't really get an official superhero suit, he does get a man-canceling CGI suit, and he gets to wear that beside all his co-stars wearing their very cool superhero outfits. In an interview with GQ, the actor said, "It was so humiliating, and all the actors, whenever I walked on set, would just start laughing at me because they were in their cool superhero costumes and I'm wearing these ridiculous pajamas." Poor Ruffalo, but he does look great in the movies, so hopefully it was all worth it. Tom Holland plays the MCU's friendly neighborhood Spider-Man and looks great doing it. Every spider suit he's worn has been iconic, but not every suit has been comfortable. The actor shared in an interview with IMDb that his least favorite suit was the Iron Spider. Sure, the entire thing was probably uncomfortable, but Holland got specific on what exactly annoyed him so much about the fit. There were these gauntlets on his wrists and they limited his mobility. Though that was the most annoying of the suits, according to Holland, that doesn't mean all the others are perfect. Some of the suits didn't have zippers, others only let him eat or drink through a hole under the eye, and overall they aren't very warm. Tom's girlfriend in real life and in the movies, Zendaya, also seems to dislike the spider suits, expressing her concerns on the Graham Norton show, bringing up that the mask is attached to the suit, so it's hard for Holland to just take it off. She shared that she was concerned because Holland often does intense stunts, and should he ever get sick from them, he wouldn't be able to remove the suit in time. There was also the time on the first few Spider-Man films where Tom's mother got involved. It was difficult for the actor to use the washroom as, again, the suit was one piece and tough to take off, so there were times when the actor wouldn't use the washroom for the entire filming day. Holland's mother was not too happy when she heard the news and worked it out so her son always got a bathroom break. Holland has shared that his favorite suit was the homemade one. It was the most comfortable. Paul Bettany went from being Jarvis, the voice, taking home a decent salary for going into a studio and saying a few lines, to becoming Vision, covered in red paint and a heavy suit on set every day. Quite a switch up for the actor. For the most part, the actor frequently shares that he'd had a positive experience working on Marvel sets. However, WandaVision was a slightly different story. It was also the first time Vision as a character was the leading role. In the past, Vision would be a major player, but in the big Avengers films, there were so many characters that actual screen time was limited. Whereas in WandaVision, Paul was likely on set like almost every day. The suit apparently got so tough to wear, the actor flipped out and demanded it be taken off. An unusual action for the usually calm actor. In an interview, Paul shared that everyone was really lovely and responded well to the actor's request, helping him out of the suit so he could take 5 to 10 minutes to breathe. About the incident, Paul said, "It's so embarrassing to talk about because obviously you're getting paid to wear an uncomfortable suit, but after 5 days in a row of just being encased in this thing, you're like, I gotta get it off my chest." Before we move on to the next actor, let's all acknowledge Paul Bettany's and Elizabeth Olsen's acting skills. They delivered incredible and emotional performances while Paul was either painted all red or all blue like a Smurf and covered in dots. Hats off to them. The MCU's first Black Panther, Chadwick Boseman, truly left his mark on the MCU, delivering a fan-favorite performance in the fan-favorite and Oscar-winning movie Black Panther. Not only did he give a great performance, he looked great doing it, but because it was cute, it ain't comfortable. Lots of actors on this list shared that they didn't start to feel uncomfortable in their suits and still wearing them for a few days. That wasn't the case for Chadwick. The actor shared that he felt suffocated in the suit from the first try-on and immediately wanted it off. This would have been for his first appearance in Captain America Civil War. Boseman said, "It was suffocating. Literally, it closed off every possibility of air getting to you. I was in it, put the mask on, I said, hey, you gotta get me out of this. I think it begins to feel like skin after a while, but it takes time to get to that place." So by the time he was filming Black Panther, the actor felt a lot better in the costume, and that's why he looks so comfortable on screen. It probably shouldn't come as a surprise to anyone that Scarlett Johansson is uncomfortable in her all-leather skin-tight suits. Unsurprisingly, they were warm. Johansson once said she had to wring out her socks at the end of the day. Then there were the stunts she had to do and all the movement and fighting. Her costumes, they would get wrecked quickly and needed to be replaced sometimes every few days. She compared the experience to tires, saying, "They're like tires, you would just go through sets of them. Every time you get a new costume, you just feel really nice, and then 3 days later, it's like the discount widow." But the black leather actually paled in comparison to one of her potential costumes, one she hated so much we've never seen it, and it's the complete opposite of her usual look. Scarlett described the scrapped costume as tennis whites and a blonde wig. Seems very out of place for the character, but she is supposed to be a sort of shapeshifter spy extraordinaire, so I guess it fits. Some heroes have been wearing pretty much the same outfits since they debuted, and some have had to visit the super tailor for a much needed revamp. We're starting off simple. Wolverine's blue and yellow suit is iconic. I cannot find fault in that. I am gonna complain about yellow later on, but not here. Wolverine as a character is big and aggressive, so yellow works. He's not exactly one for trying to hide in a fight. When he debuted in Incredible Hulk 180, the only non-threatening thing about him were the whiskers, cat-looking whiskers. Even though they were such a small part of the look, they did wonders for making him look less menacing. Thankfully, literally the next time we see Wolverine in Giant Size X-Men 1, his costume is basically the same, just no whiskers. There is an in-canon reasoning. There's this whole thing where a villain, Mesmeros, takes over Beast's mind and makes him wear a costume made from different Halloween costumes. In the fight to defeat Mesmero, Wolverine's original mask gets torn up, but he can't go face out, so he instead takes the mask Beast had been using, and must have really liked it, because it's been the look ever since. From an out-of-universe perspective, the change may have been made for a variety of reasons. The original mask showed Wolverine's eyes, whereas the new one didn't, allowing for more mystery, which works well with the character. But really, the illustrator of Giant Size X-Men thought Wolverine's original mask looked too similar to Batman, so when Gil Kane drew Wolverine's mask incorrectly on the cover, he liked the change and put it in the pages too. Black Widow's current costume works so well for the character, it's hard to imagine she ever had to fight in anything else. She did, and they were not good. Not even like design-wise, sometimes they were just impractical. The first few Tales of Suspense comics she's in, she's wearing wiggle dresses. I've tried moving in a vintage wiggle dress, just going up the stairs is mission impossible. So she not only needed a redesign to give her a better look, but she also needed one so she could actually fight properly. In Tales of Suspense 64, she does a more practical fighting fit, but it's also not great in my opinion. It's a fully blue suit with a really short cape and fishnet tights. She was basically wearing a Spider-Man suit, it was very similar. The boots let her stick to the ceiling, and she had a bracelet that would shoot a nylon line so she could swing around. In the 1970s, that is when the iconic Black Widow outfit we know today came into the picture, thanks to artist John Romita Sr. I personally think the all-black suit works better for her, it makes it easy to sneak around, and fits the image of a Black Widow better than blue. I love Iron Man, so this does hurt a little bit, but we do have to acknowledge that the first ever Iron Man suit wasn't the prettiest. I know that it was built in a cave with a box of scraps, but I think we are all glad that Tony improved on the design when he escaped said cave. Even then, the first official Iron Man suit was pretty clunky and didn't move super well. We didn't even get the iconic red and gold until a few designs later. The first redesign was all gold because, according to Tony's love interest Marion, the gray is awful and dull, whereas gold would make him seem more like a knight in shining armor. Tony also changed it because the gray apparently is frightening to everyone, friend or foe, but gold will be frightening to just foes. I love the logic of the 60s. Tales of Suspense 48 is when the Iron Man that is popular today makes his first appearance. The gold suit was way too heavy, so Tony redesigned it to be made of lighter material so he could fight better. And the red? Well, in the 48 comic, he is fighting Mr. Doll. Mr. Doll has a doll that he makes look like his opponents. When he hurts the doll, he hurts them. Iron Man adding the red was supposed to prevent that. I love the current Nightwing suit. I think it looks great, it's simple, just black with a blue bat across the front. It's just really nice. The original is iconic though. Terrible but iconic. Looking camp right in the eye, you can tell that it was designed in the 80s. The pants aren't that bad, they're just pants. It's the top. It looks like something something Elvis would have worn during his Vegas residency or like an 80s rock star. Not saying that's a bad thing, I just can't imagine having to fight crime in a collar as high as my cheekbones. That has to be blocking his peripheral vision and ability to turn his head. It also has a V-neck that looks great but exposes his chest a bit, and that's where your heart is. You should probably protect that, king. The mask is fine, that hasn't changed from the first fit to now. While Nightwing does serve in his original fit, the redesign has become his most iconic look, and I think he serves fighting crime better in that one. Featured beside the first Nightwing fit, like the next panel over, is the original Jericho suit. Jericho is a villain now, but that wasn't always the case. When we first met his super persona in Tales of Teen Titans 44, actually first appeared in 42 but saw the super suit in 44. Point is, he was on the good side. It was later that he switched sides. His suit looks like an 80s colorful Thor. He's got a pink, I'm assuming armored vest chest piece. The belt is massive. It looks like he has a cape, but it's actually a blue hood. At this rate, the Teen Titans will soon be touring the US as the hottest 80s rock stars. I think my biggest issue with the original suit is that it has a very loose white turtleneck. The extra droopy arms are bound to get caught on something. His costume in the Rebirth era kept the white, but made it more form-fitting and suitable for crime fighting, in my opinion. The Cyborg we are used to seeing now is more machine than man, very modest. He didn't start that way. He first appeared in DC Comics Presents 26, and he is basically wearing a Cyborg swimsuit and thigh-high boots. Again, with the super V-neck, please protect your heart, even if it is just nuts and bolts. He has the half-cyborg face that carries on throughout his redesigns, and he is silver. That doesn't change either. The suit is just so 80s and impractical, I kinda love it. Later depictions of Cyborg fill in the gaps of his original suit and add more crime-fighting machinery. Out of the three Teen Titans here, his suit is probably the most similar to what he would later become. The X-Men Beast is blue. He's been blue for a long time, but not forever. He actually started out as a human-looking character that just had really big hands and feet. I suppose that it would have made it easier for him to exist in the human world when he didn't have his signature blue fur, but that also meant that when he dressed as an X-Men, he had no gloves or shoes. Literally, toes out. And I'm sorry, but it looked a little silly. And it wasn't really an iconic look, he's just a guy with big hands. When he takes an experimental chemical that turns him into a furry monster, that's iconic, that's original. And then turning blue, now that's a recognizable hero. I'm not sure if this 100% counts, but I'm gonna do it anyways. When you think of the Flash, probably most people think of Barry Allen and his iconic red suit. Well, Barry was not the first Flash. The first guy to take up the name was Jay Garrick. His suit does have the iconic lightning bolt on a red background, but that's where the similarities end. His pants are blue, but the worst part of the getup is the helmet. The character is based on the god Mercury, who wears something super similar. I wasn't around in the 1940s, so I'm not sure how I would have felt seeing it then, but I know how I feel now. It's such an interesting choice, and it doesn't have a chin strap. Wouldn't it fly off? That's a safety hazard. This man runs faster than the speed of light. Getting hit with his flying helmet would take you out for sure. It also just looks a little silly. I think it was a cool idea to base him off Mercury though. I will say I quite like the Barry Allen Flash fit. No possible projectiles from that one, and to me, I just find the solid red to be more cohesive and visually appealing. Daredevil now. Amazing outfit. The original though, just doesn't make sense. Daredevil can't see, but any villain can see him coming from a mile away. He looks like a hazard sign. The all red is definitely more menacing, practical, and stylish. The reason he was bright yellow and red at first is because that was his dad's boxing robe colors, so the suit was a tribute. It's really sweet, but also really visible. In Daredevil issue 1, the suit is hand-stitched by Matt out of old shirts and presumably the robe. I think he knows he's using yellow because he says that each colored fabric has a different feel to him. Matt does make a point of noting when the costume is done that Daredevil will be recognized anywhere. Bright yellow can achieve that, so while he's establishing himself in the super scene, the choice is a good one. This outfit does not last long. In issue 7, it's changed to the full red fit we usually see Daredevil wear. The new red suit design is modeled after the way the Christian Devil is often depicted, which makes sense to me. The design change was addressed later on in a Level with Daredevil section. Turns out, when Wally Wood became the new illustrator, he just didn't like the Daredevil costume and decided to change it. We just talked about Arabian Knight a few videos ago, and he fits in here too. Maybe not for the same reasons. See, he desperately needed a redesign because his original concept was a bit racially insensitive. Editor Andy Schmidt is quoted saying the first version of Arabian Knight was just a visual stereotype with no real character behind him. The original had a special special magic carpet that would only respond to his mental commands, and his weapon was a scimitar. He also had a belt sash that again would only obey his mental commands, so it could be used as binding or a weapon. In the new version, the magic carpet got unraveled and made into a suit for Arabian Knight that still gives him all the same powers the carpet had had. The new guy was also given more of a backstory and was designed to be less of an insulting stereotype as described by Schmidt.
Kicking off the list at number 10, Bullseye. Daredevil. Wow, he's the coolest guy I've ever seen at a bar, hands down. So Bullseye was introduced to readers back in Daredevil 131. Now, I know he doesn't look the coolest here either, but that's who the character is, okay? Make your movie universe work for that character or just don't use the character yet. That's it. Like, you can't have Daredevil looking like this, and then when it comes to Bullseye, you have him looking like this. You can't have cool guy Colin Farrell and also leather Daredevil. It's just like, pick a lane. It looks like he's the villain of a 90s TV show, honestly. He doesn't look like the iconic evil assassin at all in this entire movie. Plus, Colin Farrell's performance is just... Now, the Batman universe did Ben Affleck a little bit better, and now we can also look forward to Colin Farrell being in the Penguin in the new Batman, so it's good. It's like you start with Marvel, move to DC, or you start to DC, and then you move to Marvel. Proper transitions. And before we head over to number 9, if you guys could go ahead and give this video a thumbs up, because it really means a lot for us at the channel, and it also helps us out as well too. You guys are the best. Thank you so much for supporting. Now back to this list. Number 9, Silver Samurai. The Wolverine. Alrighty, we got a cinematic masterpiece coming from Fox, because they just pump out the best superhero movies ever. The Silver Samurai in this movie has no mutant abilities, it's rather just an advanced tech suit. It was made up of adamantium from the orders of Ikiro Yoshida, and it was meant to prolong his life until he got Logan's healing factor. And it also looks like a Decepticon. Although it's based off of the original armor of the Silver Samurai, it just didn't work out. It was too much CGI, took you out of the movie, felt like you were watching Michael Bay's Ninja Turtles. It was just a mess. But while this Wolverine movie may be at the bottom of the list for many, I don't feel too bad for adding it in here because eventually we got around to James Mangold's Logan, which was a perfect send-off for the character. So far, there's only a couple of Fox characters that have been redeemed. Wolverine and some other mutant that I'm going to mention definitely later on in this list. Number 8, Vision. Avengers Age of Ultron. So with WandaVision episodes dropping weekly, we're getting to see Marvel have another crack at suiting up their power couple. We've seen a sneak peek now for their original comic book look that's going to come up in a future episode. Okay, cool, that's going to be amazing. So now it's only fair to revisit Marvel's first attempt at Vision. Age of Ultron was released in 2015 and comic book fans were delighted to see the creation of Vision in this movie. But unfortunately, it looked like another CGI android and not anything close to what made him pop and unique in the comics. So while some characters like Hawkeye have to look more military based because that's part of this arc for this universe that they're building all these stories in, he's more of a military character. It would make sense that he doesn't jump right into the purple onesie off the bat. But Vision could have looked anyway. He didn't have to be as grounded and realistic as Hawkeye did in the story. They could have had way more fun with him, which is something WandaVision is finally doing now. And even the solo Hawkeye show that's coming to Disney Plus is kind of leaning into more fun costume-wise. So we can look forward to seeing that in the future. See, things get better for Marvel. They start off a little bit choppy and then they're like, oh, let's throw in some purple. Let's throw in some green. Number 7, The Rhino. The Amazing Spider-Man 2. Okay, the Spider-Man almost trilogy with Andrew Garfield. Here we go. So we got to see the introduction to Rhino, played by Paul Giamatti, which is a wild sentence to say out loud. So the popular villain made his debut in Amazing Spider-Man issue 41 back in 1966. And fans were pumped to see this movie possibly lead us to a Sinister Six movie. And it was coming. So this strange gentleman throughout the movie who is assembling this sinister crew asked Alexei to pilot this exosuit. Now at the beginning of this movie, we had seen him trying to hijack an Oscorp van containing vials of plutonium. Now of course this was Spidey's cool first fight scene of the movie, so he took him down with ease, throwing in left hooks and quips, eventually leaving him literally standing there with his pants down. And then at the end of this film, because you know he's only in the opening scene and the ending scene forever, that's all the Rhino we have now until they redo him again, but they're not going to bring him back for sure. This is a hard character to do, and it didn't really work out in this movie in any way. Yeah, like imagine if he joined Jamie Foxx's Electro coming into the MCU in the next Spider-Man movie. Like if he appeared there, he'd get his ass kicked. Like Mark 1 could take this guy. Now I understand you need to make it again more realistic for a live action movie, but this just wasn't it. Number 6, Apocalypse. X-Men Apocalypse. He made his first full comic book appearance in X-Factor issue 5. He's the big, brooding villain of the Marvel Universe, or one of them at least. And after the success of X-Men Days of Future Past, this movie was hyped up. The first mutant, near omnipotent superpowers, this guy is the big bad we've been waiting for in the X-Men universe. And the results were boring dialogue. The costume ended up looking like the sticky dude from Power Rangers movie. Ivan Ooze. Yeah, Ivan Ooze was the villain. Hi, can I get 4 tickets to X-Men Ivan Ooze? Thanks, debit. To be honest, I'd rather just watch Oscar Isaac act as a person, because it's usually pretty good. Ex Machina was an amazing performance. This movie just felt like a superhero movie with a budget every time I looked at him. And also, the guy's barely in the movie. Like, for the main villain, for Apocalypse in a live-action X-Men film, we got to see him for less than 20 minutes in total. Number 5, The Thing. Fantastic Four. 2015, very important number. The Fantastic Four movies are on here more than once, and for good reason. Okay, so we head over now to the reboot that didn't do well at all. It was directed by Josh Trank, released in 2015, and is currently sitting at a 9% on Rotten Tomatoes. Also, the other Fantastic Four movies before this reboot didn't get the best of reviews. I mean, sure, they were made long before the MCU was established, so there's not much to compare, but they were fun at the time. I mean, I remember having a good time in theaters. I don't remember having a bad time in theaters like I did with this Fantastic Four movie. But with John Watts attached to take a swing at the franchise yet again, we have a little bit of hope. He brought Spider-Man back to life and did such a good job. So as soon as he announced that he was doing Fantastic Four, I think we're good. I think we're finally past the uglies, and now we're gonna get into the goods. But let's look now at one of the many things that made this movie bomb. And for me, it was character design. It didn't work. It didn't pull me in at all. I didn't care about any of these characters. I didn't care about the Fantastic Four. That's insane. Like The Thing, he's a super rock monster with a literal heart of gold. His first appearance is fun. He's a fun major character. Keyword here is fun. In 2011, The Thing ranked 18th in the top 100 comic book heroes, and we still haven't really seen any movie do him justice properly. For starters, at least the version that Michael Chiklis played had an actual actor under the suit. We had an actual human to relate to in some way or another. Number 4, Doctor Doom, Fantastic Four 2015. And now we got number 4, same movie. Let's do it. While we're at it, I gotta bring up Doctor Doom from the same movie. Perhaps even worse than how bad The Thing looked, we have our main villain. Also, one of the biggest Marvel villains ever of all time. Victor Von Doom was played by Toby Kebbell, who I'm a big fan of. His motion capture work for the Planet of the Apes movies were amazing. He's a fantastic actor. So dare I say, I was looking forward to seeing this movie in theaters. In the early 2000s franchise, we almost got him. We almost got Doctor Doom. We kind of got a comic book look and feel. A little bit. But even so, this was a watered down version of the character as a whole. Like, he's not a king yet. And the reboot back in 2015, when the first look of Doctor Doom was leaked, we couldn't even believe it. We thought it was fake. We were confused and kind of worried, but then, you know, maybe a little CGI will kind of clean him up a bit, maybe some post-production. Maybe we'll have a good Doctor Doom, right? Right? We'll get him next time, boys. Number 3, Venom, Spider-Man 3. The Tobey Maguire Spider-Man movies have a special place in my soul, in my heart. They're a big part of my childhood. I remember seeing Spider-Man 2 in theaters, and I remember having the best time. It rocked my world. And then the third one came out. So we got to see Venom come to life in the form of Topher Grace. This movie also just had a villain problem to begin with, not necessarily just Venom. We got a new Goblin, Harry Osborn, Flint Marko as the Sandman, and Eddie Brock as Venom. On paper, this sounds like a great Spider-Man sequel. Sounds like a lot of fun, but it wasn't. Why is that? Well, part of the problem was that the studio was pushing director Sam Raimi to include Venom in the plot, when even he didn't want to. He wanted to complete Harry's arc, boom, which he did, and he wanted to have a new wild villain that makes a blockbuster pop like Sandman, and then he originally wanted to have the Vulture in there as well as a third villain. He said Venom's lack of humanity wouldn't work with the existing story and universe. Yeah, absolutely. Venom looks bad in this movie. He just looks like Topher Grace in a suit with messed up teeth. It doesn't feel remotely close to being a powerful symbiote, and also because Raimi had to throw Venom in the plot, we also had to see a new look for Spider-Man, which was the black suit, which was cool. The black suit's a nice little nod to the old comics. It's cool, it makes him stronger. He likes the suit, it feels good on him. Awesome, we love to see it. But that meant we also got to see a new Peter Parker as well, which we didn't want to see. So including Venom was a fail for a good amount of reasons in this movie, not just the look.
I like being bad. It makes me happy.
Number 2, Galactus. Fantastic Four: Rise of the Silver Surfer. Okay, everybody heads up. We have a giant menacing space cloud coming in, and it's gonna kill all of us, so hit the deck. Galactus made his first comic book appearance in Fantastic Four issue 48 back in the 60s. He's referred to in this issue as the ultimate danger, and his looks match the description. He's the sole survivor of the 6th incarnation of the multiverse, and he was also the bad guy slash bad cloud slash thing that was coming in Fantastic Four: Rise of the Silver Surfer. We're used to seeing this guy as a giant, powerful cosmic being, but his big reveal in this movie was not there at all. All we got was a little sneak peek at his silhouette. But why does this happen? Why did they choose to do a giant nimbus cloud instead of a villain? Let me explain. So 20th Century Fox, their rationale for having the character as a cloud was apparently to keep him discreet, because they had original plans for him, and that was in a Silver Surfer spin-off. So they wanted that to be a tease, and then furthermore explore his true look and story in the movie. So they wanted to kind of tease him first and then bring him in to the actual Silver Surfer spin-off, which would have been great, but we never got that. And finally, number 1, Deadpool. X-Men Origins Wolverine. Okay, possibly the worst cinematic debut of Wade Wilson. And we got 2 looks in that movie that nobody wanted. 2 for the price of 1. We got this one. And we also got this one.
Wait, is that you? Finally figured out how to shut you up.
Both were not received well. Now we're finally back on track with Wade Wilson. Just like Logan, we got that R-rated comic book character we should have always gotten. The merc with the mouth, and your plan was to sew his mouth shut. Okay, great plan. So he went from holding katanas wearing a red and black outfit to having blades in his arm while being naked. And what didn't help was the fight scene that followed this horrible reintroduction. Thank God they're trying again with these characters, but I mean, how many tickets do we have to buy to see your failed attempts?